Good evening, this is Kev, here to drive you crazy. Okay, so I just wanted to make this video real quick as something I wanted to try and do to invest myself a little bit more on the fact that I have not really portrayed myself in my faith, especially for my videos besides my video that I had made in for my YouTube. I will try and link the video down on the description below just so that way you can see where I'm going with this one. But I am a very proud Christian of my faith in the Iglesia Ni Cristo, or the Church of Christ here in America. And the one thing I wanted to just do in this was bring up a few things that I had noticed from some of the verses that I've been hearing from my lessons, and express it in a way that I was seeing how it all ties in how, especially for this year, has come out. So the verses that I'm gonna go by right here is gonna be Matthew's chapter 24. The verse will be 3 down to 14. I'm not gonna read everything between each one, kind of summarize a little bit, because again, don't take from what I'm saying. This is just my thoughts on how I've been seeing things. If you want, I can make a good personal recommendation to one of our ministers to be able to talk to you and be able to explain a little bit more in depth about what I'm about to talk about, because what I'm about to share is not necessarily the teachings that are our actual worship services perform. This is just, again, what I am portraying off from my verses and seeing how it ties into exactly what has been happening, and again, especially for this year. So to very briefly summarize this one up, I'll say exactly this one for now. As he sat on the mountain of Olives, the disciples asked him privately, "Tell us when these things will be, and what will be the signs of your coming and of the age of the end of the ages." So basically, again, just asking, when is the end of the world, or judgment day, when you're coming for the world to end is approaching. The next saying is, and Jesus answered to them, "Take heed that no one deceive you, and many will come in my name, saying that I am the Christ, and will deceive many." So simply to say that this specific thing that is being said right now by our Lord Jesus is going to be the only thing that should matter, because anything else that can come across may not be true, because other people will say that they are like the Christ, and what they will say is very deceiving. So what I'm about to read now is something I'm going to break down little by little on what has been very, very eye-opening for me, especially for this year. "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." I don't know if many people try to remember too far back, but I do remember recalling sometime in, January, February time, wasn't there just like a whole bunch of people making fun of saying, "I think we're going to go to war. I think we're going to have a war with North Korea. We're all going to," and hey, oh. So a verse right here just said, "You'll hear of wars and rumors of wars." So isn't that just how the beginning of this year started? Let's continue. "For the nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows." Nation against nation. So we're talking about how America is fed up with China on this, unnecessary uprising, kingdoms and kingdoms will be falling. The United Kingdom and most of all of Europe had really gotten hit very hard with the coronavirus, and a lot of other places had been experiencing, of course, famines and pestilences. Some of the things that was coming from my mind on that especially was like the wildfires in Australia, the burning of that, all the various earthquakes in various places. This has been one of the most earthquake ridden years of all time. Go and try to do some research on how much earthquakes there's been just this year alone, and all the different locations, and especially locations that hasn't had volcanoes or eruptions or any kind of earthquakes in like decades or centuries, and all of a sudden they're just happening now. Try to finish this up a little bit as well. Then they will deliver you to the tribulation and kill you, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. So simply to say, the whole sense of being a Christian nowadays is something that is worth just being ridiculed for, because a lot of people don't care about religion anymore. Everyone's more, scientifically understanding that they can believe something that isn't a god, which is why these things continue to just speak volumes to me, because everything, like I'm saying, has been something that has been persistently coming across this entire year. I mean, heck, even to the point to say they will deliver you in tribulations and kill you, and there'll be hatred by all nations. There's hatred amongst all the people nowadays because everyone is so divided throughout all the nations. And it amazes me. And then many will be offended, will portray one another, and will hate one another. Then many false prophets will rise and deceive many, and because of lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. I mean, how much more sense can that make, where it's right there? You're reading it, and it is an everyday struggle that we are having now, because we all talk about wanting to try and unite everybody, the Black Lives Matter, the LGBTQ, and all those kind of things that are always trying to make people want to try and become more together and be able to come, this one image of being able to say that they can be together. But then there's the people who make all the sayings and hate, and the hate unfortunately becomes the only thing that anyone chooses to recognize, or the only thing that people want to follow behind. Why? It makes no sense, because they already knew. Jesus already knew. This is going to be the last thing between the 3 through 14. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come. As simple as it needs to be said, the world is very much coming to its end. I don't want to make it sound like it's happening tomorrow, but with everything that was said and everything that could be portrayed out in a timeline just from this year alone, is something that can be a reason to say, you know what, maybe there's a reason to actually listen. At least listen. If you don't want to actually choose to believe, you know what, fine. That is your own priority, and I'm only being the one here to say I chose what I chose because it made sense to me. And hopefully if you were to ever come to our worship services, you would be able to hear these same messages and be able to hopefully see it in your own self. But for right now, I am Cab, and I'm here to drive you crazy. Thank you again for watching. Hopefully I can be able to share another message. Again, this is not exactly my own say for, my own interpretations of what these verses mean. There is a completely different way that our ministers and the actual church administration does share this lesson, and I'd rather have you hear that from them personally instead of taking it just from me, because that's how I wanted to just express it and share it. I hope that you will be able to listen to some more of the verses that I will be able to share a little bit later. Again, this one was just one that I wanted to do for myself because, again, of how it just correlated very well with everything that has been going on this year. Thank you again for watching. God bless and take care.